Desperate girl asks paralyzed millionaire for scraps, his shocking response will haunt you. In the heart of the city, amidst the bustle and chatter, a desperate figure emerged from the shadows. Clara, a girl with wild, tangled hair and eyes that screamed for help, stumbled through the crowded streets, her heart racing like a drum. She had nothing left, no money, no home, and barely any hope. Today, her feet led her to a towering mansion, glittering under the late afternoon sun, a stark contrast to her ragged appearance. It wasn't just a house, it was a fortress of wealth that loomed over her like a dark cloud. She had heard the whispers about Oliver Stenson, the reclusive millionaire confined to his wheelchair after a tragic accident. They said he was bitter, cold as ice, a man consumed by his own wealth. Yet, Clara was willing to take that risk. As she approached the wrought iron gates, her stomach twisted with both fear and excitement. The gates creaked open, revealing a lush garden filled with exquisite flowers, radiant under the warm light. But it felt like a scene from a dream, surreal, haunted, as if the colors danced to a tune only the mansion could hear. With every step toward the grand front door, Clara's heart pounded. Inside, the air was thick with silence, an unsettling quiet that wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. She knocked, the sound echoing, teasing her hopes and fears. After what felt like hours, the door creaked open. A butler, with a stoic face and sharp suit, stared at Clara as if she was a ghost. His eyes were cold, judging her like a book by its cover. Moments later, she found herself face to face with Oliver. The room was dim, shadows clinging to the corners, and the only light came from the chandelier overhead, casting eerie reflections. He sat there, a proud figure in a tailored suit, but the wheelchair chained him like a prisoner. His gaze pierced through her, and for a fleeting moment, Clara felt complete dread, a tightness in her chest as if he could see right through her soul. "Why are you here?" he asked, his voice low, laced with a mix of curiosity and disdain. The weight of his words knocked the breath from her lungs. Did she dare to beg for scraps from a man who had everything? The trembling in her hands betrayed her, and she hesitated. But desperation clawed at her throat. She had to try. Then came a wild thought, a flicker of hope. Maybe he was more than just a cold millionaire. Maybe there was something left of humanity within him, buried beneath the layers of wealth and isolation. Clara took a deep breath, ready to bare her soul. I need help. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Clara's voice wavered as she poured out her tale, the words tumbling out like stones from her chest, and to her surprise, she saw something flicker in Oliver's eyes. Was it sympathy? Or was it something darker? The air became electric, charged with an unspoken tension that made her heart race even faster. But then, just as quickly, his expression hardened again. "You think I'm just going to give you what you want?" he sneered, the chill in his tone slicing through the air like a knife. The lump in Clara's throat grew, and she fought back tears. She had come here for help, yet she felt like a bug under a magnifying glass. What would he say next? Would he cast her aside like so many others had? Just as Clara braced for the worst, he leaned forward, intrigue dancing in his eyes. "Tell me why I shouldn't." The question hung heavily in the air, pregnant with possibility. What could she say that might change his mind? Clara felt her pulse quicken, uncertainty swirling inside her like a storm. Could this be a defining moment in her life? Would Oliver's response seal her fate, forever? Clara's heart thudded in her chest like a warning drum. His question felt like a dare, echoing in the stillness of the room. She gulped, forcing her tangled thoughts into order. What could she possibly say that would convince him to open his wallet or, worse, his heart? "Because I'm not here to take," she began, her voice trembling but resolute. "I'm here because I have nowhere else to turn. I was hoping for a chance to prove I can work. I can help. I'll do anything." Oliver's eyes narrowed, the glimmer of interest disappearing behind a veil of skepticism. "Anything?" The word slid out with a sharp edge, sending a chill crawling down Clara's spine. "Yes. Anything," she repeated, trying to keep the desperation from erupting in her voice. She needed him to see her, truly see her, beyond the dirty clothes and disheveled hair. "I'll clean, organize, whatever you need. Just please." He sat back, arms crossed over his chest, his expression unreadable. The silence in the room was nearly tangible, wrapping around Clara's words, pulling them into the void. It felt like an eternity before he finally spoke. "Do you even know who I am?" he asked, as if her plight amused him. "I'm a man who has tasted power and been stripped of his freedom. You think you can understand that struggle?" Her resolve wavered for a moment, but she kept her gaze steady. "I may not know your pain, but I know desperation. I know what it's like to feel hopeless, to feel like you don't matter." She took a small step closer, her heart pounding louder than ever. "All I need is a small chance to show you I'm worth something." His lips quirked into a faint, incredulous smile. "You think you can save me with your noble intentions?" Clara shook her head. "I'm not here to save you. I just need a way to save myself." For a moment, something flickered behind his cold demeanor, a mere hint of recognition. Clara could see the shadows of his past creeping into the present. It gave her a glimmer of hope, but then he turned away, breaking their connection. "Fine," he said finally, voice dripping with impatience. "I'll give you a chance." Clara's breath hitched in disbelief. "Really? You will?" "A trial period," Oliver clarified, his eyes narrowing again. "1 week. You prove yourself useful, and we'll talk about something more permanent. Fail, and you're gone." Relief washed over her, a tide of emotion that made her momentarily dizzy. "Thank you. I won't let you down." She felt lighter, hope sparking within her for the first time in ages, but then he leaned closer, anger swirling in his voice. "But if you think you can come in here, disrupt my life without consequences, think again. I'm not the only one who lives here." A shadow passed over her expression. "What does that mean?" Oliver's smile was anything but reassuring. "I have layers, Clara. You have no idea what you're getting into, and neither do I. Keep your eyes open." Clara's stomach twisted again, a cold rush overshadowing her initial joy. What was lurking in the shadows of this mansion? She felt a whirlwind of uncertainty swirl in her chest, mixing with her determination. "I will," she said firmly, a newfound sense of purpose filling her words. "I can handle anything." As she turned to leave, she felt the weight of his gaze trailing behind her, a storm brewing just out of sight. What secrets did Oliver hold? And what exactly had she bargained for? With her heart pounding, Clara stepped into the hallway, uncertainty lingering in the air like a thick fog. What awaited her in this mansion? And would she uncover the darkness hidden beneath its luxurious facade? Only time would tell. The mansion loomed around Clara, its grandeur mingling with an unsettling silence. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to move forward. The soft echo of her footsteps filled the hallway, each step a reminder of the opportunity given to her or perhaps the trap laid out before her. As she approached the kitchen, the scent of cooking wafted through the air, a stark contrast to the cold, austere feel of Oliver's office. How could a place so beautiful conceal such darkness? "Hey, you!" A voice rang out, pulling Clara from her thoughts. She turned and came face to face with a woman who had just barged into the kitchen. Her dark hair was pulled into a messy bun, and her apron was speckled with flour. She had an intensity in her eyes, like she was trying to figure Clara out in an instant. "Who are you?" the woman asked,
crossing her arms. "Are you the new help?" "I'm Lena, by the way." Clara hesitated. I'm Clara. I just started." Lena's brow furrowed, skepticism radiating off her. "Started? With Oliver? What did he tell you? Because people don't just get a free pass around here." She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "You ought to be careful. Not everything is as it seems." Clara's stomach twisted at the warning, but she held her ground. "I can take care of myself," she replied, trying to sound confident, though the truth felt far from it. Lena lifted an eyebrow, studying her. "Good, because trust me, you'll need it. Just remember, Oliver has some secrets, and I don't think you're ready for all of them." Clara felt a chill slide down her spine, her mind racing. What kind of secrets? What had she walked into? But before she could ask, Lena turned back to her cooking, as if dismissing the entire conversation. Feeling the weight of Lena's words, Clara busied herself with simple tasks, the rhythm of washing dishes grounding her. As the suds enveloped her hands, she felt a strange mix of hope and dread. Could she really last a week here? Prove herself? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the air, breaking the concentration. Clara's heart raced as she dropped the dish she was holding. It shattered, sending jagged pieces scattering across the floor. "Oops," she mumbled, feeling heat rush to her cheeks. "I'm so sorry." Lena turned sharply, her demeanor shifting from indifference to concern. "Just clean it up. But be careful. You'll cut yourself." Clara knelt down, her hands trembling as she swept up the shards. A nervous knot formed in her chest. She couldn't afford to mess up, especially not today. "Are you going to survive?" Lena asked suddenly, leaning against the counter. "You've seen how quickly he changes moods. You need a thick skin. You might think it's just cleaning, but Oliver's not who he seems." "What do you mean?" Clara couldn't help but ask, her curiosity piqued. Lena looked away, as if reconsidering her words. "He's complicated. Powerful. But there are scars there that run deep. Just stay alert." The unease settled into Clara's bones. She washed her hands nervously in the sink, gazing at her reflection, searching for the strength she needed. "I can't think of him as complicated right now. I need to focus on myself," she whispered almost to the glass, but as the mirror reflected her apprehensive expression, a sudden thought twisted in her mind. What had she truly signed up for? Bracing herself, Clara stood upright and gripped the edge of the counter. She could handle anything right. Later that evening, a commotion in the hall drew her attention. A couple of voices raised, crackling with intensity. Something grew in the air, a tension she could taste. Clara peered through the doorway, her breath hitching as she spotted Oliver across the room. He stood with another man, his jaw clenched, dark rage boiling just beneath his calm surface. Was this the side of him she hadn't prepared for? What was happening? The shadows were deepening around her, the mansion alive with whispered emotions and unseen conflicts. With her heart racing, Clara hesitated. Who was the man with Oliver? And what was the dangerous game unfolding before her? The next chapter of this nightmare was just beginning, and the stakes were rising. Would she uncover the truth before it was too late? Clara couldn't pull her gaze from the two men standing firm in front of each other. The air crackled between them, thick with unspoken words and hidden animosities. Just a few feet away, she huddled near the doorway, trembling yet curious, her instincts screaming for her to retreat, but something in her wouldn't let her turn away. Oliver's eyes, usually so charming, were dark and fierce, his usually smooth speech now dripping with barely contained anger. "You don't understand the consequences," he warned, his voice low yet resonant, matched by the man standing across from him. This man had sharp features, eyes that glinted like glass, and a confidence that hinted at past encounters with Oliver that hadn't ended well. "Don't kid yourself, Oliver. I know exactly what I'm getting into," the man shot back, his tone dripping with derision. "But you're not the only player in this game anymore.
Something in their exchange made Clara's skin prickle. She felt a deep, inexplicable connection to this conflict. Were they talking about matters of the heart, or were there darker dealings in play? Just then, a loud noise erupted from the direction of the staircase. Clara jumped, her heart racing as she turned her head to see a tall figure emerge. It was a woman dressed in a flowing dress, her beauty striking and ethereal even in the dim light. But there was something unnerving about her. She walked with a grace that seemed out of place in this mansion, and Clara felt a chill run down her spine as their eyes met. "What is this?" the elegantly dressed woman demanded, her voice smooth but laced with an icy undertone. She stepped forward, and Clara could see her gaze shift from Oliver to the man he was arguing with before landing on Clara. The woman's piercing eyes made Clara shrink back, wishing to become invisible. She could almost feel the scrutiny melting the resolve she had built so courageously. "And who might you be?" the woman asked Clara, her tone icy, the question a barely veiled threat. Clara forced herself to stand a little taller, gripping the door frame to steady her shaking hands. "I'm Clara," she replied, her voice only slightly wavering. "I just started here." The woman's lips twisted into a thin smile, it was sharp, almost predatory. "Just started?" "You'll have to watch yourself, Clara," she warned, her gaze glancing back at Oliver and then to the man next to him. "Not everyone here is friendly." The tension in the room heightened, and Clara wanted to bolt, to run back to her haven in the kitchen. But the unfolding drama held her captive. Oliver, usually so composed, looked frayed at the edges. "Stay out of this, Elise," he snapped, agitation pouring from him. But the man next to him chuckled darkly. "Oh, Oliver, you can't just sweep it under the rug. You think you're in control, but things are changing. You can't protect Clara or hide the truth forever." Clara's heart pounded in her chest. Protect her? What truth? A wave of dread washed over her as she pieced together their veiled threats. What had she stumbled into? "Enough!" Oliver roared, his voice shaking the very foundations of the mansion. The air felt charged, alive, and Clara could feel every pulse of power hanging heavy over her. Suddenly, something broke within her. "What is going on here?" Clara shouted, her fear transforming into desperate courage. "What are you talking about?" The room fell silent, the tension now palpable. All eyes turned to her, the stakes hanging in the balance. In that moment, Clara realized she had stepped into a world not intended for her, a world teetering on the edge of darkness. Was she prepared to face whatever lurked in the shadows? As uncertainty tightened around her, Clara's mind raced. What was the truth that could threaten her very existence? What would she discover if she pushed further? The game was set, and Clara was now a player on a board much larger than she had imagined. Would she find the courage to uncover the secrets, or would the truth claw her back into the darkness? The silence was deafening, stretching on as Clara stood her ground, the weight of their gazes suddenly feeling like chains binding her. Each pair of eyes held secrets she could only imagine, 1,000 stories wrapped in tension swirling around the luxurious room. Well-dressed, powerful, each person here was more than they appeared, and she had unwittingly stepped into their world. Elise's lips curled into that predatory smile, one that sent another chill through Clara. "You think courage can shield you from the truth, dear?" she said, her tone dripping with mock pity. "Trust me, it only invites danger." "Enough!" Oliver barked again, his voice a growl that echoed off the mansion walls. His temper was a thin veneer over something deeper, and Clara could sense his desperation. "Clara, you need to leave. Now." But something inside her rebelled against his command. Clara took a step forward, fueled by an instinct she couldn't quite place. "If there is something happening here, I deserve to know." Her voice rang brittle, but determination reinforced it. For a fleeting second, Oliver's expression softened, but then he reset, his eyes hardening again into a shield. "You don't understand what's at stake. There are things you cannot even begin to fathom," he said, a warning veiled in concern. Meanwhile, the man opposite, who still wore that dark, amused smirk, leaned closer, eyeing Clara like a toy he was eager to unravel. "She's right, Oliver," he jeered. "Knowledge is power, after all." He turned back to Clara, his voice smooth, almost inviting. "What's the worst that could happen? You seek the truth, but the truth might not be what you expect." Confusion and fear bubbled within her, her heart thundering. Clara felt trapped, her resolve colliding with the thrill and terror of the unknown. "Then tell me. What's the truth?" To her surprise, Elise stepped closer, her presence like ice water in the summer sun. "A family built on secrets will do anything to keep them alive," she said, her voice chilling Clara's blood. "And they don't hesitate to sacrifice anything or anyone in its wake." "Sacrifice?" Clara echoed, each syllable hanging heavy. Her pulse drummed in her ears, and the implications of Elise's words began to blossom in her mind. "Families like this rich, powerful, they'll bury you without a second thought. You cannot trust Oliver to protect you," Elise continued, her eyes narrowing attentively. "He's fighting battles you cannot see, battles meant to keep you blind and safe. But safety is an illusion." Clara's thoughts whirled. Was Oliver really trying to protect her? Or was he hiding something that would tear this fragile reality apart? "Why would you? Because you deserve the truth, and the truth is a knife edge," Elise interrupted, her voice low and intimate. "And I can help you, Clara, if you're willing to look beyond the facade." Suddenly, Clara recoiled. What was this woman offering? There was an underlying threat in that offer disguised as kindness, and it alarmed her. Everything felt like a game she hadn't agreed to play, and stakes were heaped high. Oliver stepped forward, his fierce expression cutting through the tension. "Don't listen to her. Whatever she's promising won't be worth the cost." But Clara's insides twisted with uncertainty. Hadn't she come here searching for something? Something real and raw. She faced Oliver, searching his eyes for any hint of the truth he withheld. But the entire tableau snapped into chaos as a sound shattered the fragile peace, a crash echoing from the corridor, followed by hurried footsteps. Clara's heart seemed to stop. "What now?" "Go get out!" Oliver shouted, and before she could protest, Elise had turned, her keen eyes flashing with excitement, whispering something to the man beside her. Clara felt her heart leap into her throat. It was real. Whatever was happening, it drew closer, a storm on the horizon, and she was caught in its eye. "What is happening?" she cried out, desperate for clarity, but the answer hung in the air, heavy and foreboding as footsteps rushed closer, drowning her voice. The truth promised to reveal itself, yet Clara knew she had only scratched the surface. What awaited her beyond this door? The shadows were lengthening, and Clara realized she might just be on the brink of a discovery that could change everything, but at what cost? The door swung open with a dramatic crash, splintering the fragile calm like glass shattering under the weight of a hammer. Clara's breath hitched as a figure stumbled in, a stranger, gasping, eyes wild with fear. "Help!" he yelled, his voice raw, panic coating every syllable. "They're coming. We need to hide." Oliver's expression morphed into something primal, a mixture of anger and protectiveness that was foreign to Clara. He dashed toward the newcomer, his voice urgent. Who's coming?" The man's wild gaze darted around the grand room, his frame shaking as if gravity had doubled for him. "I don't know. They just appeared." "They know." Clara's heart raced. The walls felt like they were closing in, shadows creeping closer, sweeping her fears like dust into a dark corner. What did he mean they knew? What was it that he was trying to escape? Elise laughed, a sharp, mocking sound that sliced through the growing tension. "How deliciously dramatic," she said, leaning against the wall, arms crossed, invisible stakes towering high around her. "It seems things are more interesting than we expected, Oliver. But you shouldn't worry. You've got a brave little mouse in the room with you." Clara shot a heated glance in Elise's direction, teeth gritting. This wasn't a game, it was an impending storm, and Elise reveled in the chaos. Clara, come here. Oliver beckoned, a grain of desperation streaking through his urgency. You don't want to be involved in this. But Clara couldn't find the strength to move. She felt magnetized to the unfolding disaster, drawn into the center of something sinister. What do you mean they know? Who are you running from? I'm just a guard, the man stammered. I overheard them talking. The family, they're not what they seem. They've got enemies everywhere. I shouldn't have come here. Enemies? Clara breathed, her heart pounding in her chest. What enemies? Others like them. Power struggles, betrayals, murder, he gulped, horror flickering behind his eyes. If they think you know something, they won't stop until you're silenced like the others. A chill swept through Clara. The words murder and silenced hovered in the air, wrapping around her throat like a serpent, tightening as fear clawed at her limbs. She walked into a world sewn with threads of darkness, and now the tapestry was unraveling before her very eyes. Stop! Oliver shouted, flaring with anger, his voice rumbling like thunder. We can't discuss this here. But Elise stepped closer, her eyes alight with intrigue. Oh, but think how thrilling this all is, Oliver. This is exactly what Clara wanted, isn't it? The truth raw and bitter. Before Oliver could respond, another crash resounded from the corridor, louder this time, framing Clara's mind with terror. She could feel it, the danger was closer now, malicious and hungry. Clara. Oliver slipped back into a commanding tone, fighting the panic rising in his chest. You have to trust me. Least of all, don't go near. But in that moment, the newcomer lunged forward, gripping Clara's arm. We have to leave. Now. Clara tore her gaze between Oliver and the trembling man. She felt the weight of both their desires pulling her apart. One urged her to safety, the other cried for action. Do you trust me? The man pressed, urgency coded in desperation. Are you with me? The sound of footsteps thundered down the corridor, a muddled mix of voices rising with each passing second. Clara's heart raced. She didn't know how much time they had left. She stuttered, uncertain. The truth was still shrouded in fog, but one thing was glaringly obvious: her choice could lead her down a path she could never turn back from. The impending storm raged in her mind, and she felt as if the world was opening beneath her feet. Would she choose the safety of familiar hell, or leap into the unknown? Clara. Oliver boomed, his voice breaking through the haze of fear. You have to decide. Now. The choice was hers, and as reality bore down, she had to face the truth. Whatever lay beyond the door, it was going to change her forever. And the stakes had never been higher, but would she find a way out or deep into a nightmare she never anticipated? The walls shuddered as the sound of boots drew closer, each thud like a countdown to disaster. Clara's mind raced, the words of the stranger entwining with her growing dread. They won't stop. The urgency in his voice burned in her ears. Clara, please. Oliver's voice was thick with panic, and for the first time, she noticed the sweat beading on his brow. You need to trust me. Follow me, now. She felt trapped between two worlds, one of reckless courage and the other a suffocating safety. Clara had never been a person to run from danger, but the shadow creeping from the corridor was no mere trick of the light. It was a tangible threat, and the stranger seemed to know it all too well. The cellar. The guard urged, his grip tightening around her arm. It's the only way. We can disappear. The crash of the door splintering open sent shockwaves through her. Clara flinched, her body reacting before her mind caught up. A figure now loomed in the doorway, backlit like a specter, and she instinctively took a step back. Oliver stepped in front of her, instinctively blocking her from view. Get out of here. He snarled, eyes burning with determination. You don't belong here. Neither do you. The figure roared, advancing into the room with a calculated menace. Cold, calculating eyes fell on Clara, sweeping over her like a predator sizing up prey.
Run! Shouted the guard, pulling Clara back and dragging her toward the shadowy hallway leading to the cellar. But Oliver hesitated, caught in a moment of indecision. His eyes flicked between Clara and the advancing threat, torn between fear and his drive to protect her. "What do you want?" Oliver demanded, grounding himself against the terror enveloping the room. "It's not what I want, it's what you've been hiding," the figure hissed. The shadows seemed to swirl closer, wrapping around them like a noose. "You've attracted attention, and now they know about her too." Clara's heart sank as the gravity of those words sank in. She was a target apiece in a game much bigger than she ever imagined. "What does it matter?" she cried out in desperation. "What do you want from me?" The figure smiled, a predatory grin that sent chills crawling down her spine. "Oh, sweet Clara. It's nothing personal. But you hold the key to a secret that could change everything. And we can't have you running around with that knowledge." The guard pushed her forward, urgency spilling from him like a boiling pot, bubbles of panic around the edges. "He's lying. Don't listen to him. We need to get moving now." With a frantic motion, Clara glanced back at Oliver, who stood his ground, stuck in the pull of the escalating confrontation. "What kind of secret?" she pressed, her voice shaking but rising above the storm of chaos. "What do you mean?" But before she could receive an answer, the figure lunged forward, a blur of motion. Oliver stepped into action, a powerful shove that sent the figure staggering back, cursing under his breath. "Clara, now!" The guard urged her again, the urgency boiling over. "I won't let you fall into their hands. Come on." Clara took a breath, the resolve swelling within her. She couldn't turn back now. The truth was at her fingertips. She tore her gaze away from Oliver, who wasn't backing down, determination flowing from him like an unyielding tide. "I'll come back. I swear." She shouted, desperation in her voice as she followed the guard into the darkness. They raced down the corridor, hearts pounding in tandem, each step echoing against the stone walls like a death knell. But the roar of anger behind them told her they weren't free yet, and as the shadows swallowed them, Clara realized she'd leaped into a world where danger danced with desire, and the road ahead twisted with uncertainty. Would she find answers? Or would her chase for the truth lead her deeper into a nightmare waiting to engulf her whole? The darkness enveloped Clara and the guard like a dense fog, swallowing their footsteps as they sprinted through the narrow corridor. Fear clung to her throat like a tightening noose. Every beat of her heart echoed in her ears, drowning out all other sounds. The space seemed endless, each corner twisting like a labyrinth, leaving her feeling more lost with every step. "Keep going," the guard urged, his voice a mix of encouragement and raw panic. "We have to reach the cellar." Clara nodded, even if the reassurance didn't fully settle her racing mind. A part of her wished she could glance back, see Oliver standing strong in face of the looming danger, but the dread clawing at her gut pushed her forward. A visceral instinct told her that looking back meant failure, and failure meant everything would unravel. They reached a heavy oak door at the end of the corridor. The guard thrust it open with a violent shove, causing an eerie creak that cut through the silence. Clara stumbled inside, the sudden chill biting at her skin. The dim light from a single bulb overhead flickered ominously, casting anxious shadows across the room. "Lock it," the guard instructed, his eyes darting nervously to the corridor they had just fled. Clara felt her heart race again as he whipped out a sturdy piece of wood, propping it against the door as she struggled to catch her breath. "What is happening?" she gasped, leaning against the door, pressing her ear to it, as if the sounds of the world beyond would help her piece things together. "Those people out there, they're not just after Oliver. They want you, too." Panic danced in his eyes. "You're mixed up in something dangerous, something bigger than we realized." "Why me?" Clara's voice wavered, quaking with uncertainty. He shook his head, desperation knitting his brow. "You have information or a connection to something they need. I don't know what it is exactly, but we need to find out fast."
Before she could absorb this shocking revelation, a heavy thud reverberated against the door, followed by a deep growl of a voice that chilled her blood. "You can't hide forever." Clara's body went rigid. It was the figure from the room, anger dripping from his words, a predator relentless in his pursuit. Her heart raced at the thought of being found, the horror closing in on her. They stood motionless for a moment, silence deafening as they shared a glance of fear. "What's our next move?" she whispered, every syllable strained with urgency. "There's another way out," he began, but then the door trembled again as a more forceful impact reverberated through the wood, cutting off his words. Clara's panic morphed into determination. "Let us go." "Where's the exit?" He gestured toward a rickety staircase spiraling down into darkness. "But we have to be quiet." The tension was palpable as they descended, Clara's fingers brushing against the cold stone wall for balance. The further they went, the more the dread seeped into her veins, filling her with the profound awareness that your instincts mattered more than ever in moments like these. At last, they reached the bottom. The guard flicked on his flashlight, illuminating an expansive chamber lined with crates and old equipment. But even amid the vibrancy of light, a sense of foreboding loomed. Shadows danced across the walls, reminiscent of looming foes waiting in the wings. "Stay close," he instructed, his voice barely rising above a murmur. "We'll find a way out of this." Just then, a noise echoed through the chamber, a muffled voice reaching them from a corner. Clara's breath hitched, the hair on the back of her neck standing at attention. "Clara," the voice wafted through the dark, weaving through the musty air like a ghost. She froze, feeling her heart drop. "Oliver?" she called, straining to hear. "Is that you?" The silence that followed was deafening, but the air tinged with a new urgency, pricking at her skin. "Clara, we need to move." The guard insisted, eyes darting back to the stairwell, but Clara's mind whirled with 1,000 questions. What did Oliver know? What kind of trap had they stepped into? And above all, what was she truly worth in this deadly game? With her pulse racing, she stepped forward, determined to uncover the truth. The shadows around her seemed to pulse, holding their breath. Where was Oliver? And what secrets lurked in the darkness? Clara's heart thundered in her chest as she took a hesitant step toward the voice. The guard's grip tightened on her arm, a mute warning hanging in the tension-filled air. She glanced back at him, his face a mask of concern and fear. "Stay alert," he whispered, eyes scanning the darkness. "Oliver?" she called out again, her voice trembling as it echoed in the vast chamber. With every heartbeat, the shadows seemed to shift and swirl around her, threatening to swallow the last remnants of her hope. The voice came again, faint but desperate. "Clara, I need your help." Something twisted inside her, it felt as if a connection, invisible yet palpable, surged between them. "I'm coming," she shouted, her determination pushing through the dread. She stepped deeper into the room, the beam of the guard's flashlight catching the outline of crates stacked haphazardly in the corners. "Wait. We shouldn't split up," he hissed, an edge of panic creeping into his tone. Clara could sense his anxiety, but Oliver's voice was a siren, calling to her from the depths of uncertainty. She turned, heart leaping as she spotted a figure slumped against a crate. It was Oliver, pale and disheveled, his jacket torn and dirt smeared across his cheek. He glanced up at her, relief flooding his features. "Clara. You're here." His voice broke, and the strength behind it faltered. "I feared I'd never see you again." "Oliver, what's happening?" she breathed, rushing to his side. She crouched next to him, taking in the fear etched in his eyes and the desperation hanging in the air. "They're after something I didn't know I had," he gasped, lifting a trembling hand. "They want files, dangerous files." "I never thought." A loud crash echoed from above, the door they had propped against splintering under the weight of an imminent intrusion. The guard immediately moved to stand between them and the threat. "Get him out of here. Now." Before Clara could register, footsteps thundered above, the sound drawing closer. She bit her lip, urgency clawing at her throat. "We can't leave you." I'll hold them off. You have to go, I need you safe. Oliver's voice was hoarse, but there was a fierce determination behind it. Clara felt a rush of warmth mixed with anger. How could he be so willing to sacrifice himself? Please, Clara. He implored, eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her stomach churn. Trust me. The guard grabbed her arm, urgency flooding his expression. We have to make a choice now. He pointed toward a narrow passage at the far end of the chamber, shadows lurking just beyond it. It's our only chance. Clara looked between Oliver and the guard, desperation pinching her heart. I can't just leave him. Tears stung at her eyes, and she fought against the tide of panic rising in her throat. Clara. Oliver's voice cut through the turmoil, a desperate plea. You can save me if you're alive. I'll find you. I promise. The guard began to pull her back, a firm grip on her wrist as the chaos advanced. Now. He commanded, his voice cutting. We can't waste any time. The weight of her decision pressed heavily on her chest as she hesitated, torn between love and survival. With one last, lingering look at Oliver, memories crashing over her like waves, she turned and followed the guard into the dark passage. The claustrophobic space felt suffocating as they ducked under low beams, scraping their skin against rough walls. The muffled sounds of a scuffle echoed behind them, followed by a gut-wrenching scream that sliced through the air, chilling Clara to her bones. Faster. The guard urged, panic seeping into his tone. The flickering light of the flashlight danced erratically, shadows looming behind them as they pressed deeper. Clara's mind was racing, each question stacking higher than the last. What secrets had Oliver uncovered? What danger had she unwittingly stepped into? With every step they took, uncertainty clawed at her, a pit forming in her stomach, whispering grim possibilities. If she escaped, what would that mean for Oliver? As they approached a heavy door at the end of the tunnel, her heart pounded with hope and dread. Would it lead to safety, or was it just another trap? With trembling hands, she reached for the handle, inhaling deeply as the chill of fear wrapped around her once more. As the door creaked open, a flood of light poured in, contrasting sharply with the darkness behind them, but looming in that light, Clara could see a silhouette of figure waiting, watching. Welcome back, the voice hissed, sending ice down her spine. The stark realization hit her, survival wasn't as close as she hoped. What role did fate have in this unraveling game? And who was truly in control? Clara's heart dropped as the figure stepped forward, revealing that it was Elise, her smile as sharp as a blade. You came back, she purred, the charm of her voice tinged with malice. Clara stumbled back, the glimmer of hope dimming in her chest. The guard shifted protectively in front of her, his posture tense. Get away from her. He shouted, eyes darting around as if searching for an escape route through the tightening web of danger. Elise shrugged, the nonchalance in her movements chilling. Relax. I just wanted to give Clara a warm welcome. She turned her gaze toward Clara, eyes glinting with satisfaction. You know, I try to warn people about the dangers lurking here, yet they always end up walking into them, don't they? Clara felt the walls closing in, her breaths coming shallow and quick. What do you want? She blurted, desperation curling in her gut. What do you want from me? Oh, darling, Elise continued, feigning innocence. I want nothing from you that you've not already offered, but you're so much more valuable alive than dead. As her words sank in, Clara's stomach twisted. Now, you hold the key to this little game. Fear racked Clara's chest. Game. She echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. What game? The power struggle at play. This mansion conceals secrets, dark and twisted, worth more than platinum. You've become a pawn in a battle that very few understand. Elise beckoned toward the guard, who stood steadfast, yet a thin layer of sweat glistened on his brow. This isn't about them, the guard cried out, urgency sparking in his voice. You don't have to listen to her, Clara. We need to move. The shadow of fear hung heavy, but Clara's instincts flared. What kind of secrets? she demanded, forcing her voice to waver less than she felt. What do you mean they're after me? Elise's eyes glimmered, the predator lurking just beneath the surface. Oh, sweet Clara. You're mixed up in a world of manipulation. Your connection to Oliver runs deeper than surface-level pity. They know you are here, and they want whatever he hid from them, whatever he thought he could protect. No. Clara snapped, the certainty of Oliver's loyalty rising over her swirling doubts. He wouldn't betray me. He wouldn't put me in danger. Elise's laugh echoed off the walls, mocking and taunting. You're naive if you think he can protect you in this labyrinth of secrets. The moment you entered his world, you became a target, she warned, sweeping her hand dramatically toward the shadows behind her, as if gesturing to unseen threats. And make no mistake, Clara, they will silence anyone who knows too much. But he was here for me. Clara shot back, feeling embers of anger ignite in her chest. He cared. I saw it in his eyes. Cared? Elise questioned, a smirk twisting her lips. Care only goes as far as survival. Where do your loyalties lie when the stakes rise? Will you safeguard your own life or betray him to save your skin? The word stabbed at Clara's gut like ice, twisting memories of Oliver's face in her mind. Uncertainty, once distant, now clawed at her, threatening to rip her apart. I don't know what you're talking about. Elise leaned in, her voice turning conspiratorial, whispering silkily, you have no idea. What happens next will depend on your choice. Join me, and I can help you stay alive. Resist, and I can't promise you won't be the next casualty in this little charade. Are you threatening me? Clara spat, indignant and desperate to sound brave. But the fear coiling in her belly made every word shake. I'm offering you a lifeline, Elise whispered, her eyes piercing. But choose wisely, Clara. Time is ticking, and those looking for you won't wait. What will you risk to protect what you care about? The guard stepped closer, a subtle movement that pulled Clara's focus, determination blazing in his eyes. Don't listen to her. We can get out of this together. Just trust me. Clara felt the swelling dread, eyes darting between the guard and Elise, every heartbeat echoing with decisions yet to be made. The door trembled, footsteps nearing again. An urgent growl signaled that their time was up, a dawning awareness lighting the path ahead. Clara. Oliver's voice bellowed from up the corridor, raw and desperate. Clara, I'm coming for you. Clara's heart quickened, a whirlwind of emotions surged through her. Did she trust Elise's cunning words or the guard's fierce loyalty? Now. The guard urged, a hand grasping her. The walls surged with ominous whispers around them, the air thick with tension. Choose. Elise hissed, her voice winding through her thoughts. Clara summoned her courage, her heart racing perilously close to breaking. I choose my own fate. With a bolt of determination that echoed through her limbs, Clara dashed toward the sound of Oliver's voice, away from the webs of deceit and desperation. The guard followed close, grounding her in the chaos as the heavy door rattled once more behind them. The darkness behind them erupted as Clara sprinted toward the flickering light ahead, purpose fossilized in every heartbeat. Would she find her way to Oliver? Could they tear through the shadows gripping them both? As they approached the exit, the specter of fear clutched at her soul, and she pressed onward. The truth awaited, facing the unknown could unearth the sweetest victory or the fiercest betrayal. But Clara wouldn't turn back now. Not for anyone, not for anything. She was determined to find Oliver and whatever lay ahead. Clara. He called urgently, voice climbing with raw hope, and she ran towards it, leaving uncertainty in the dust. In that moment, she could sense the dawn breaking, a chance to take control of her fate amidst the chaos as the darkness nipped at her heels. The revelation awaited, bold and relentless, and she was ready to seize it. Now, Clara had to confront her choices. Her heart raced with the thrill of the unknown as she barreled through the door into the light, ready to face whatever awaited her. Clara leaped forward, choice woven in her spirit, for survival was the ultimate truth she now sought. Wow! What a roller coaster. If you loved this conclusion, you need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss out on our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now, it feeds the algorithm and shows our amazing community that you're all in. Flood the comments section. I want to hear your reactions, theories, and what you thought about Clara's choices. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Give them a taste of the thrill. Let us keep this incredible community growing and exploring together.